Boker Tov. Доброе утро. A little Russian, you know. Can't pull off yaol, so, have to. Thank you, Shayla. I actually think you do not need keynote speaker. I think you have one. How lucky are you to have a young person with that passion and with that fire? I think that we need to borrow her and send her to talk some sense into Putin, because no one can resist that tenacity. Thank you so much. And it's so wonderful to be here, especially during this time. It's so wonderful to be with my colleagues, Deb Rochford and Reagan Well. And I have to tell you, you have the professionals, then in a couple of years, the New Yorkers will be coming to Austin, look you in the eye and say, how did you do that? You have an incredible community here, loving and warm and supportive and dedicated. And it is so good to be with all of you this morning. I'm so grateful that you, in spite of 50 degrees cold, which, me coming from Russia, I know all about cold, you're here. I don't know what brought you here, but I think a big part of it is your heart. A week ago, at 3 a.m., my WhatsApp went up. And on the other line was Rabbi Moshe Assman, as known to my husband and me as Misha, old friend, chief rabbi of Ukraine. The signal was terrible. I could hardly hear what he was saying. And then he puts a young woman in front of the camera who is hysterically crying, holding a baby who is hysterically crying. And Rabbi Assman says to me, Marina, please help. I say, what do you need? Alessia is a 22-year-old mother of a 3-week-old baby. A month ago, she lived in Kharkov with her husband. They were expecting a baby. She's a beautiful woman, married to a very promising soccer star. Life was as good as life could be in Ukraine. And a month later, she was there sheltering in a synagogue, half walked from Kharkov, half catch a ride with the baby. Because of the stress, her milk dried out, and they couldn't find any formula. And I said to Misha, what can I do? I'm in Philadelphia. If I could jump and transport myself to Kyiv and go find the formula, I would, but the baby needs to eat now. I transferred money to them through WhatsApp, and a few hours later, and $300 later, we had 2 cans of formula. There wasn't one night that I slept since then. This conversation took me right back to 35 years ago, to March 6, 1987, when my daughter Aliyah was born. I did then what Ukrainian people are doing now. Together with other refusniks, I said no to Soviet regime, no to discrimination, no to prosecution, and no to not allowing Soviet Jews to make Aliyah and to immigrate to Israel. I was 19 years old when I became a refusnik. They tried to rape me. They beat me up. And when I got married and became pregnant, the colonel of KGB, who was a friend of Vladimir Putin, sat me down, looked me in the eye, and said, "Marina, you have a choice to make. You can give birth to a healthy baby, or you can die for freedom." And what is freedom? What do you, Marina Furman, know about freedom? I said, I don't know anything about freedom. I know I cannot live without it. It was a very scary experience. And let me tell you, when Putin on February 28 gave a speech and promised to destroy Ukraine, I saw this man. I remembered Colonel Krutov, and I knew that he is going to try and destroy Ukraine. Everyone around me was saying, no, he wouldn't dare, he will take Donbass, but he wouldn't dare to start a real war. And I said he would, because I sat across the table from a person just like him, government of murderers. When I came back home, we told international Jewish community that was strong and powerful and not afraid, the community around this country and around the globe who understood how important it is to share freedom you have and you were born with Soviet Jews. Marina Furman was just one person, and thousands of people gathered at the events like this, raised money, wrote letters, lobbied their government officials, because one life mattered. Everyone said to me they wouldn't dare, Gorbachev was now in power, but I sat across the table from that man and I knew they would. And I found myself in maternity hospital number 13, being alone in the room, given huge overdose of digoxin medicine that caused me to go into cardiac arrest during labor. It's been 35 years, and there is not a day goes by that the horror of the day haunts me, especially at night. That feeling of being helpless, of being murdered for no other reason, that in a crazy act of defiance, I knew I had to stand for all of us. And I had to give a chance to my unborn baby to be free. I did not believe that I would walk alive from that experience. But I promised to myself that if I do survive, I will dedicate my entire life to try and make sure that no other Jewish mother ever has this experience. And I was talking to Alessia. I knew that I failed. At the very last moment, one doctor walked in the room and saved my life. Lost his career, was exiled from St. Petersburg, and I was never able to thank him. But together with thousands and thousands of American Jews, he saved 2 Jewish lives, a mother and a baby. In the scope of things, in the scope of 6 million we lost, what is it? It's everything when it's your life. Aliyah is 35 years old today. She has 2 beautiful boys, and my grandson Zev can give the most impassioned speech telling Putin to get his hands off Ukraine. He's 4. And he can do it in Russian and Hebrew. You know, I have to show off, right? What grandmother would I be? I find myself living a nightmare these last 2 weeks that I thought I escaped. I find myself really puzzled by everything going on in this country. And I have to say, every time I walk in a synagogue and I pass by the gate and I see armed security guards and how many of them are protecting us here, because this is America. This is America that thought for me. This is America that held 250,000 rally in DC protesting Gorbachev and telling him, let my people go. You're the people who showed Gorbachev what free will does, what solidarity is. There was very, very little anti-Semitism. So where did it come? Where did it live these years? I grew up in Kyiv, Ukraine, where anti-Semitism was part of life. It was a given. You spoke Ukrainian, you were anti-Semite. My whole entire family was wiped out in Babi Yar. My mother was the only one who survived. I'm an only child, and I grew up looking at the people surrounding me, hating Jews, and I always ask myself, why? Look at Ukrainians. They chose freedom today. They elected a Jewish president. The Minister of Finance is also Jewish. And the Jewish hero today, a Jewish hero leads them in the fight of defiance and saying no to evil dictator. And here in this country, we have to have 10 armed guards protecting us. I tell you where it comes from. Anti-Semites are predators. They come after us when they think we are weak. And we're not weak. You are an incredible Jewish community. You saved 1.5 million Soviet Jews. You helped build and protect State of Israel. Look at this temple. Look at this campus. Your pride and joy in the Jewish history. You're it. Look at your successes. Look at the Jewish politicians. Look at the Jewish science who were involved in developing COVID vaccine. But we think we're weak. We're scared. And you can't be. Courage, defiance is your most powerful weapon. Knowing your history, when they accuse Israel of every crime and called it apartheid state, you need to know that Israel in 1990s took hundreds and thousands of people from Chernobyl area. I was in charge of resettlement in Israel in the city of Ra'anana. And I took care of people where family of 4 all would have leukemia. Israel took them, Israel resettled them, Israel treated them, and Israel never talked about it anywhere. It didn't become a PR piece. That's what we do. That's what we do in Israel, and that's what we do in this state. You have to remember that. You have to know our history. You have to stand tall. You have to be proud. You have to look anti-Semites in the eye and know who you are and not apologize. and they will go away. Because it's hard to fight people and hate people who stand tall and stand proud. And remind them that hero Vladimir Zelensky is a Jew. And that Israel is there on the border with Ukraine through JNF partner Makom, greeting the refugees, giving them soup, giving them children treats, giving them love, and take them to Israel, to their home. Alessia is only half Jewish, but yet she knew that when she had to flee and look for help, she went to synagogue. Rabbi Moshe Assman was a refusnik. He was freed, went to Israel. He has 11 children and 24 grandchildren, and he chose to stay in Ukraine under attack, sheltering people, Jewish or not, because that's who we are. Anti-Semites don't think that's who we are, but you do. We live in a time where evil is too close. We live in a time when Jews are powerful. We live in a time where our solidarity with Israel can make all the difference, that our solidarity with people of Ukraine can and will make all the difference. And when I look around this room, and I look at your chair of the board and chair of this breakfast, these people could be doing so many other different things. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of money to put something like that together. You have to lead by example, you have to give, you have to call people and ask them to come. And you came. And that's an act of defiance. I know what you're thinking. Like, I came for bagels. What is she talking about? And I'm sure that lax is delicious. But as somebody on the verge of precipice, not thinking I will survive, I was saved by simple love of individuals just like you. Sometimes you just don't realize how great it is, everything you do every single day as Jewish people. I want you to remind yourself. I don't know if Alessia, who now is safe with her baby in Israel, will ever come to Austin. I hope she does. I will personally invite her and stand on the stage and thank you in person. But you have to know that there are millions of Jews saved by this incredible American Jewish community, by wonderful Texans who speak with a strange accent, here and there say a few words in Hebrew, but have a heart of gold. And remember that for every 6 million, for every Jew among 6 million we lost, there is one of you who for just one another person, one Marina Furman, can make all the difference. And as a proud Jewish JNF professional, I can tell you, there is no better home for your beautiful and big Jewish heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. Please welcome Brad Greenblum, Chair of the Austin Board of Directors.